Hi everybody, it's Phil Kerner, the Tool and Die Guy, and welcome to this edition of Toolroom Tuesday. And this is a place where we talk a little bit about some cool tools, a little bit of history, what's going on in the trade. So let's get started. A lot of comments on last week's inaugural edition of Toolroom Tuesday, so let's go through a few of them. We talked about those space blocks. Pretty cool, little gauge blocks, the round ones. And this guy said, this is from Brian, I actually have a set of those space blocks. Very handy, and yours is the first time I've seen another set. Happy Thanksgiving from Lehigh Valley. And I think that's down in Pittsburgh. I think that's where they make Rolling Rock beer, or used to. This is from Jeffrey. I have the same pair of Lufkin B blocks. We talked about those. My dad's bought them at a yard sale for $5. Nice. Use them all the time. Let's see. The space block sets are still available at most every tool supply. Edge Technology makes a similar lathe tool setup as the one shown. Oh, that was that little lathe tool setup. Okay. Just a quick note. This is from Lowell about the go, no-go handle we talked about. And 7% of males have a red-green color vision deficiency, which makes the printed version a bit more universal. I get it. So the original had the words go, no-go stamped. And in my version, I just did the red and green dots. So if you have a color deficiency, you might need to stamp yours or engrave them if you want. Good point. Thank you for that. Let's see. I also talked about my combination square that I spent all that money on 40 years ago. I paid over $400 in New Zealand money for a Michitoyo set in 1979, about the same year I bought mine. Not cheap on apprentice wages, but I've used them nearly every day since. Quality is worth the price. Amen. That was from Mr. T. This is Tristan wants to let me know that YouTube is for sharing ideas and not selling them. We're not selling anything here except the opportunity to educate yourself. So if you feel good about that, keep it going. Somebody just said thank you. Well, you're welcome. How about some Tool and Die Guy shirts and hats? You know, I don't know about that. Between getting them printed, getting them made in America, nobody will probably pay what it would really cost, because I will not have Oriental stuff sold on my site, right? We're Tool and Die Guy, I can't do that. I'll look into it, but if they're 20 bucks a piece, I don't know if people are going to buy them. This is from Matt. I'm a member at his site. Totally worth the price of admission. Well, Matt, you are a smart dude, and I can tell. And finally, this one. This is from the same guy, I think. I can't pronounce it. L-O-H-I, Lohi. He wants to say that he's another FOG, F-O-G. Now, he says that stands for fine old guy. And appreciate that interpretation there. And he just wanted to talk a little bit about, I talked about the rusty fingers last week, and we used to call them gold fingers, he said, but which brings up my final talking point before we look into some really cool stuff. You know, I don't know what happened here with this FOG thing, and I was kind of shocked when I saw the FOG thing for the first time. F-O-G. Well, it really doesn't stand for fine old guy, does it? We know what that F stands for. And I don't know who you guys are working with. If your older guys are just that slow, I can tell you, I'm one of the older guys in my shop, if you can believe that. But I'm fast. And I might be a pain in the ass to work with, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But nobody will ever say I'm slow. From the top down, from the owner down. And maybe that's why I'm a pain in the ass, because I think that rubs some people the wrong way, because I'm very proud of my speed. So if you've got these old guys wandering around with walkers and they're taking too long, I feel bad for you. You should come work with me. I'll run circles around you, okay? I like to press my boss. You know, I'm one of those guys, and you should be one of those guys, that you want your boss to go, geez, how did you get that stuff done so fast? You know, getting it done right and fast is the trick to me. That's what I do at the Tool and Die Guy site. That's what I teach. Is everybody knows setups take forever if you get the wrong guy doing setups. Everything's an ordeal, right? We don't want our setups to be an ordeal. They should be in and out. Should be organized. That's what I teach. So as far as that goes, yeah, I get it, the FOG thing. But you know what? I learned a lot from those fine old guys, and you can learn a lot from this one too. So with that being said, let's get started with this edition of Toolroom Tuesday. So let's get started. I think I'm going to start with a piece of vintage history here. Then we're going to move into some cool stuff, but what's in my hand here? Oh, what do we have here? Well, these brass tags. Now here's a piece of vintage history here. These are actually from the place I apprenticed at, and it says right on them, Anson Tools. And somebody took the time at Anson Tools, because Anson Tools was lean before lean was a buzzword, okay? They were very organized, and everything had to be in its place. So this is for clock number 283, and what these were used for, you would be issued a set of these as an employee with your clock number, employee number, and what they would do is when you went to the tool crib, you would give them one of these chits here, I guess you would call it. That's with a C-H, not what you think I just said. And they would hang that where the tool was, or put it in the drawer, and know that employee number 283 had it. So if they needed it, they could go look it up, 283, and find that guy and get that tool back. So, you know, it's stuff like this I love. They took the time. It's got this old school holder on it, you know, with the thread on it. You unscrew it to take the tags out, but pretty cool. Solid brass tokens, tool crib tokens, I guess you would call them. And that should bring back some memories for some of you final gentlemen, and and for you new guys, before they had computers and barcodes, this is how we did it. Pretty simple, pretty elegant, and pretty cool vintage stuff. Okay, there's number one. All right, so let's start off with some education here. This week I had to set up an angle, and you know, we're all used to these machines now that have different axes on them, but sometimes you still got to use this, a sine bar. Now, the sine bar will always mean something to me, and this is one of the tools I sell on my site. The plans for this from Anson Tools and Gauges, and there's even a story behind this. So I built this sine bar, and the reason we built our own tools 40 years ago is because there weren't cheap ones from China to buy online for 20 bucks, right? The only choice you had was like Brown & Sharp and Starrett, and they were like $300, and when you're making $375 an hour or whatever, yeah. So I stayed after and built this tool. Well, the funny thing about this, see my initials in there, my name? Well, I asked the owner of the company, because I thought the pantograph was the coolest machine I'd ever seen. It looked like such a toolmakery machine to run, right? I'd watch all the old guys run the pantograph. I said, I'd like to run the pantograph. He said, no, you're still an apprentice. That's for mold makers only. So, not to be squashed, I got permission to stay after work and engrave my own tools. And I got a toolmaker to stay after with me. And there you go, this beautiful sine bar. Well, the other reason this has some meaning to me is that January this year, 8 years ago, I went into our inspection department. I had just finished a part with an angle on it, and they failed it. And I don't like it when they fail my part. So they said my angles right. I said, how'd you check it? And I think they used the comparator. So I said, well, what about a sine bar? And they asked me literally, this is a long time ago, this isn't a slam about the place I work with, it might have just been the person that I was talking to that day, they didn't know what a sine bar was. So I sat down that night and recorded my first ever video, how to use a sine bar. And it sat there for a couple weeks with 50 views, and all of a sudden it had 10,000, and I realized, wow, people are hungry for this. And the Tool and Die guy was born. I know, the day that wrecked the internet, right? So anyways, this sine bar. So I had to set up a block on an angle this week, but here's the fun part. Because when I was a mold maker, I had to set up a lot of angles because everything on an injection mold has draft on it. So we started off with these little guys here, 1 degree and 2 degrees, because that was a common draft angle, and these were set for a 5-inch magnetic sine, right? So we all know the formula, right? Whatever angle you want, you take the sine of that times the distance between your what we call the rolls. So this is a 5-inch sine bar. So if you want to set up a 5-degree angle, well, let's call it a 10-degree angle, so we don't get confused. So the sine of 10 degrees times the distance between these rolls times 5 gives you the amount to set the stack up for to tilt your angle. So because we did 1 and 2 degrees so much, we had these pre-made. Well, then I got the bright idea, because I had nothing else to do as an apprentice, I built my whole set here. And these are all the blocks. Of course, I already had 1 and 2, but I've got from 3 to 45. and these are all pre-made, hardened blocks. You don't have to make your own gauge block, ring them together, right? You just go get the, this one's a 9-degree block, and guess what? You put this under your sign bar, and you've got, let's see, that's out of the picture there. Let me help you out here. Here you go. Let's get that right. There you go, 9 degrees. Okay, so, and right up to 45 degrees. Now this is a time-consuming project, I get it. And I've got these so neatly packed I can barely get them out of the drawer. So let's not even bother with that one. Let's see here. 14 degrees. Boom. 14 degrees. Done. No ringing up the gauge blocks. They're doing the calculation. Pre-made sign blocks. So those are a nice set of tools that have come very handy, especially when I was a mold maker. I'm not anymore. But they're neatly tucked away in my Gerstner box. Now, another deal I have here are these angled parallels. Now you've seen angled parallels, and they're pretty cool, but but these ones are special because they have the step. So this is a half degree. So this is a half degree, and so is the perpendicular angle. What a great tool for grinding electrodes, right? You put your electrode in, grind it, put the next one in, grind it. You always had to stop. Because of most angle parallels, they don't have this foot on the end, so your piece can vary of where it's sitting. So this, I'll even use these on the mill for light work. And I've used these for 40 years, built these myself. The hole in the end, right there, is for where they put the wire in to dip it in the oil after it's heat treated. So these are 01, about a 1/4 inch by 3 inch. I turned this as a suggestion. And I think I'll find that suggestion. I still have it, of course I do, where I think I got a $35 reward for that. And of course I took the time to stamp my initials in it. Let's get this a little closer here. The camera doesn't like getting too close here. Those are my initials in the angle, okay? And I got a $35 reward, which would be about $100 today. You guys, anybody do reward programs anymore? So half degree through 45. So I use these a lot still. All tucked away in this box. There's a couple other pretty cool things in this box, and I won't bore you with everything, but I love this set of parallels. These say EWK on them. My Uncle Eddie. He was the founder of Kerner Tool and Die Company. Yeah, they've got a few battle scars on them, but these are probably from the 40s. And the beautiful part, they're 5/8 by 5/8. And they work great for bridge ports. Either way. I still use them for parallels in my grinding vise, but 5/8 by 5/8. Put them in your keyways for your bridge ports, and you got 2 stops. You get your work parallel, and but there's a piece of history right there. All right. So again, I talked about at the beginning why I feel like I'm a very quick guy at work is that I have stuff like this ready to go. Okay, when I have to set up an angle, I have all these blocks ready to go on these pre-made angle blocks, or if I have to set up a sign bar, just dig in and find the angle. And of course, if it's an odd angle, 4.7 degrees, I have to bring up the gauge blocks. But 90% of the time, we're not talking about an odd angle, right? Okay, so a lot of information so far. Let's see, I'm at almost 9 minutes, so I can give you a few more. So let's finish off this lesson today with some another history lesson. Ooh, I'm giving it away here. You know, we go to these estate sales once in a while, and I'm not a big estate sale person, and I should probably just put something here to look at, right? So I go to these estate sales very sparingly because I'm not into buying people's old lawn chairs or their old coffee cups. But I got a call about 2 months ago from my son Robert, who happened to be at an estate sale. He says, you need to get down here. So he texted me some photos. So let's take a look at some very cool things I picked up at this estate sale. There used to be a time in this, I think we still do this actually, sand castings. And look at this. That is the pattern for a bench vise. It's missing this piece here, okay, but it's going to get better. But these are used to be made of, this one looks like it's made out of pine, but I was very, very familiar with the patterns because when I started in the trade, there was no 3D machining with CNCs. You had to trace it off of patterns. So the pattern makers would always start with a wood pattern and give you that for the core half of the mold, and then they'd put wax on it and cast that off. They actually put the wax on whatever the wall thickness was going to be on the part. So if it was 80 thousandths wall stock, they would literally coat this with wax and then recast it into plaster, so you'd have a cavity and a core. Well, that's not how it works with sand castings, right? They just shove this into the sand, make an impression, and dump the material in. Not kidding. Well, this is a very prominent family in Erie that used to own a forging company. And I was very privileged to get a few things. And I love this. This is a complete bench vise pattern, which I think is pretty cool. It has the letters in it, but they're missing a few. But there's more to come. Or as ShamWow guy says, but wait, there's more. And then I got this other little pattern I bought, and I love to buy anything that says Erie PA on it. This is Erie Toolworks 423, and this actually comes apart. And it was a pattern for something. It looks like a vise part, but I got that too. Erie Toolworks 423, it says. Cool. And then I got the mother load. This is no doubt, I've seen this wood before 100 times. Toolmaker, this is mahogany. And this is a beautiful pattern here. All I had to do is get the grease off it and put a little furniture polish on it. What I love about this is it says Hollands. I'm not sure what that meant, but Erie, PA. So USA. How cool is that? It looks like I'm missing one half, the letter 1/2. If you were to look closely, every one of these letters has the tiniest little nails in it to hold it in place. And maybe I'll get a good picture of that and post it with the video, but that's how sand castings are made. So I was very happy to get a hold of these few pieces of history and Erie, PA history, and I love this thing. And it's like the leg lamp in our house. Wherever I put it, my wife wants to break it or hide it. So it's in the studio right now, and maybe she'll take a trip and I can put it like in the front window, because that's where this belongs. So that's it for Toolroom Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed this today. And a little history, got a little lesson on sign blocks and how to get a little more maybe organized. If you do a lot of angles, those are worth their weight in gold. And we'll see you, I guess, on the next episode of Toolroom Tuesday. I'm Phil Kerner, the Tool and Die Guy. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Toolroom Tuesday. And if you'd like to follow me and be a member of the Tool and Die Guy site, the toolanddieguy.com, you're always welcome there. 345 lessons over there on tool and die making, machining, setups, cutter grinding, surface grinding, EDM. We talk a lot about over there. So keep me posted. I like seeing your comments, and I love this trade. And I love sharing the knowledge that I have and all the cool stuff I've accumulated, and I hope you do too. We'll see you on the next episode.